Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach, and today I'm talking about texts that ruin attraction. So the first rule about texting when you're dating and things like that, that can ruin attraction. The first thing you should do is you should not send more text than necessary. So what I mean by this is if you send a text to someone you like saying, hey, how are you? Don't do it again, right? Because if they like you, if they're attracted to you, if they are interested in you, they will reply to that. Because what I've seen a lot of people do is they say, hey, how are you? And then sometimes a day later or a couple of days later, or perhaps even like a few minutes later, in some like kind of extreme cases, they send, hey, how are you again? Like that person got the message, right? You don't need to send another, hey, how are you? If they haven't responded to that, then you just need to leave it, right? You don't say anything to them ever again. You don't send another, hey, how are you? You don't send anything, because if they're not even willing to respond to a, hey, how are you? Which I guess, yeah, is a bit of a generic thing to say, but if they're not even willing to say, I'm good, thanks, how are you? Then they're not worth it, right? Because another thing you've got to understand as well, like even if you send a hey, how are you, and you don't get a response back immediately, or perhaps that you get one like in a couple of weeks, that's still a response, right? So that's good if they, respond to you in a couple of weeks, because perhaps they've gone through a tough situation, perhaps they're going through a lot of stuff, perhaps someone in their life has just died, perhaps they've changed jobs, perhaps they've just moved, perhaps something's happened to them, because you never know what's going on in someone's life. So just because you don't get a response instantly doesn't mean that things are out, basically. If you get a response from them, whether it's, the next day, or whether it's 2 days away, or whether it's next week, or whether it's even a month away, that's still pretty good, because you still got a response and they still thought about responding to you. So that's good. But I see a lot of people making the mistake of sending, hey, how are you? And then sending another later on that day, or in a couple of days' time, or the next day. And that goes for any kind of message that is kind of like that, like, hey, what are you up to? Not just, hey, how are you? It could be any kind of message that you send to someone, right? That's asking a question, like, hey, what you been up to? Hey, how are you? Things like that. You don't need to send anything else after that, right? You've sent it once. If they're not willing to respond to that, they're out. They should be out, right? They should be like, that's it. I'm not going to talk to them again, because obviously they can't. They're just not interested in me enough to respond to me. Right? And that's fine. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Don't take it personally, right? And I see a lot of people they do take these things personally, and they get angry, they get butthurt. They're like, why are you not responding to me? That's really rude. They say things like that. And it's like, no, come on, just calm down, right? If they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you. You're not going to be, it's very egotistical, perhaps even a bit of a narcissistic thing to do, to expect a response from someone who... and just expect someone to like you straight away and things like that. To be a bit humble towards yourself and don't expect that kind of thing. Because for whatever reason, perhaps they can tell that you like them and they may not be interested and they don't want to lead you on, so they just don't say anything, right? And sometimes people do take that approach, and you just got to realize that, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone who I'm attracted to is going to be attracted to me, and that's fair enough, because I'm not attracted to everyone, and this person is also free to not be attracted to me, because they just might not be attracted to me. So some more texts that ruin attraction. So let's say you've been dating someone for a few weeks, or it could be you've been on one date. Other texts that can ruin attraction in this very kind of fragile period where someone's still getting to know you and they're not in love with you yet. Texts can often ruin attraction. And the kind of text I'm talking about is when you're texting too much, when you're texting too often, when you are, for example, sending long messages talking about yourself or talking about just things. What you should be doing when you're dating is you should be looking at your phone and seeing who is initiating most, who is sending the longer messages, who is sending the messages most frequently, who is leaving the longer gaps between messages. And if you're the one that is doing the most, and by that I mean you're sending the longer messages, you're sending messages more frequently, then there's a balance, there's an imbalance in the attraction and what's going on here. So basically what you need to do is you just need to really scale it back, right? And stop trying to get to know them over text and messenger and things like that. Aim to always get to know people in person face to face. So that means like a date, when you actually hang out and you're physically in each other's presence. Now, if you're doing a long distance thing, then the best thing you can do for that is like a video message. But generally, if this is someone that you know or someone that is in the very close proximity to you, then you have no excuse, but you have to meet them in person, right? There's no excuse to get to know someone over Messenger, right? Now, of course, they may volunteer information about themselves. They may want to have a little chat with you and, ask you about a couple of things, which is fine. But what you want to do is you want to cut the conversation short. And the reason why I think you need to do this, and this is what has worked for me, how I met my wife. I didn't get to know her over Messenger. I would always arrange a date where we can actually meet up and hang out, and then we'll talk about ourselves. I try not to say too much in between dates. And when she did reach out to me, in those first, few months that we were together and we were dating each other and getting to know each other, I would cut the conversation short. She would say, "Hey, how are you?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm great, thanks." And then if we hadn't arranged a date, then I would try to arrange one. I'd say, "Would you like to go out and do something on Saturday? Would you like to do this at this time?" And she would be like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And I'll be like, "Great. I'll see you then," right? And that's as simple as that. And then I cut the conversation short. And even if she did reach out to me to have a little conversation, say, "Hey, how are you? What you been up to?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I've been great, thanks. Just been doing some work, just been doing this. I can't wait to see you on Saturday." And then she'll be like, "Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it." And I'm really looking forward to it too. I've got to go, but I'll see you then. Cutting it short. And the reason why it's important to do this and not try to get to know each other over Messenger and things like that is because miscommunication can happen over text, right? And over Messenger. You might say something and that she may take it the wrong way, or he may take it the wrong way. You might be trying to say a joke, but she or he, didn't quite get it and maybe thought that you were taking the mick or something like that. You don't know. So it's best to talk to people when you're face to face with them, right? And if you don't, text can ruin attraction if you say something that could offend them, even if your heart was in the right place. Because some people might think that you're being serious, which is why it's important to get to know people in person, because they can read your body language and they can tell when you're kidding. They can tell how authentic you're being. They can tell how you are, explaining things, the tone of voice, all these things are so important, and you can only pick up on these things when you're face to face. And if you're just texting each other and getting to know each other that way, then you're not having a very authentic experience where you can read off each other's vibes, and miscommunication can happen. So you don't want to be sending these long essays about yourself, or just lots of random messages in any kind of form. When they reach out to you and it seems like they want to chat, just say to them, "I've got to go." And if they get upset about it, just say to them, "Well, the reason why right now I can't give you all of my attention because I'm doing these other things. I've got 100 other things that I'm doing. I can't give you my attention right now. So that's why I kind of want to cut things short, because I'd rather do this in person when I can give you all of my focus and all of my attention and all of my presence. But right now I'm just caught up in all these other little things, and I want to be able to give you the attention that you deserve." And if you say it something like that, and if you say it along those lines, they will totally get it. They will understand. They'll understand where you're coming from, right? So basically, cut these conversations over Messenger, online, cut all these things short. Keep them sharp and sweet. It's okay if they reach out to you or you reach out to them. You're just saying, "Hey, how are you?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm great, thanks." Or if it's the other way around, then you'll be like, "Yeah, I'm great, thanks." And then you're like, "I can't wait to see you." Or you arrange the next date. And then you just say, "Look, I'm really busy, I've got to go, but I'll see you on Saturday, or I'll see you on Sunday," whenever you've got your date planned, right? And if you do that, then text won't ruin the attraction, because you're not texting that often, and you're getting to know each other more authentically via face-to-face meetings when you're actually on dates with each other. And when you do go on dates with each other, make sure that you can actually talk to each other. Don't go to loud venues like a club or a gig or a cinema where you can't speak to each other, right? Go to a place that's relatively quiet, like a cafe or a quiet restaurant where it's not too busy. Or you may go and do something like go for a walk. That was what me and my wife did at the beginning of our relationship. We would like go out and have a walk together because we both liked, going on walks and hiking and things like that. So that's what we would do. And we would get to talk to each other so much and for hours because, our walks would be quite long. So we'd have a lot of good quality time to get to know each other. So going to places that are quiet, where you can actually chat and have a conversation, is going to be really beneficial to you, because it's just going to be it's just going to be much easier for you to get to know each other, right? So get off the phone, stop texting so much, arrange a date with them, ask to meet them up in person, and when they do reach out to you via text, just cut the conversation short, arrange the next date if you need to do that, if nothing's arranged yet, or just say to them, "I'm great, thanks." Ask them how they are. You can have a tiny little conversation with them, but don't make it last for hours and don't send long messages. Try and cut it short as soon as possible and just say, "I'm really busy, but I can't wait to see you next." Something like that. And that's what's going to really help with that kind of thing. But don't send too many messages. Don't send long essays. Don't send big paragraphs about yourself. Just keep it short and sweet. Don't get to know each other over the phone or over text. And it's the same with phone calls as well. Like, you can't really read someone's body language over a phone call. It's a bit easier if you're long distance and you're doing the FaceTime thing. But, keep it short and sweet. Even if it's a phone call, keep it short and sweet. Just act like you're really busy, even if you're not, basically. And if you do that, it's going to be so much better for you. And you're going to basically lessen the chance of attraction being ruined because of a text message or a message from like Messenger or WhatsApp or something. So if you do that, it should be fine, and you shouldn't ruin the attraction if the attraction is there, of course, right? Because sometimes that kind of doesn't happen. Sometimes you are keeping things short and sweet, which is what I did for a long time before I met my wife. And sometimes I'll go out on a date and I'll be like, I'm not really that into this person. We're chatting and I'm talking, we're not really vibing, and I'm like, I don't think this person is for me. Or maybe the case that I went on a date with a couple of girls, and they was like, "I'm not really into you." That's kind of like how it ended, because they would stop talking to me or things like that, and the obviously whatever happened just didn't work out. But the important thing is that you go out and meet these people in person, because then right? And sometimes when you're getting to know people online or just through text message, people can hide who they are through text messages, because they can kind of craft whatever they want and say about themselves, right? It's very easy to craft what you want to say. Whereas if you're kind of face to face and they're put on the spot, it's very hard to do that kind of thing. So the reason why that is important is because if you are getting to know someone over text, and then let's say you're doing that for like a month, and then you finally meet up, and you've got all these emotions invested on basically this kind of like fake person that you've been speaking to. You've got all these emotions involved. You may be even feeling like you're in love with them. And then all of a sudden you meet them, and they're not like how you thought they were going to be, because they've just misrepresented themselves. So that's really something that you really need to think about and take into consideration. People can hide who they are through text messages, through Messenger. It's important to get to know people in person so you actually know who you're dealing with, all right? So, and the only way you can really do that is by actually meeting them in person. Messenger doesn't really give too much away. Texts don't really give that much away, because you can craft things to how you want them to be, basically, and you can misrepresent yourself, and that other person that you're talking to can misrepresent themselves. So that's my thoughts on texts that cause attraction to disappear and things like that. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. And if you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.